40 seconds, but in my past experience, it's already rolling. So I'm gonna hit record. Hey, how's it going? I'm Sephiros, and today I'm gonna be exploring one of my favorite topics, that of rhyme scheming and fractals. Now, if you've never looked into fractals, I can go to a web page right now. And images. All right, so here are some fractals. Right. So you often will see these on like LSD and other psychedelics, DMT. I'm gonna pull up one of these images here. Okay, so, well, actually, let's pull up the Mandelbrot, because that's kind of like the old OG. Okay, so this is like the OG kind of Mandelbrot sequence. And you can see it's a shape that's made up of a bunch of this same shape as it is in its totality, which is kind of a conundrum, and it's kind of like a paradox in a way, but they're able to express it mathematically. So you can see how everything's perfectly symmetrical but asymmetrical at the same time, because it has this spiraling motion to it. All right, so let's see. I guess you couldn't see any of that. So here we go. Mandelbrot sequence. Mandelbrot sequence, I believe that's what this is. It's a fractal of some sort. And just take a quick look at this. See how it's an echo? See how there's like a reflection going on where this big shape is the same as this shape? See how the circles kind of keep going into infinity? And it has this spiraling, looping kind of thing to it. All right, so the basic concept here is that it's like this puzzle piece where each piece is the same piece, but they fit together to make a big version of that same piece. I also might reference MC Escher, who is really good with these kind of patterns. Let's see, in a different kind of way. So something like this. See how like he's able to use one shape and create another shape with its negative? It's just a really trippy kind of idea to think about that and then look at how we're going to put together phrasing for sounds. Because this is essentially visual phrasing if you think about it. Here's another kind of a cool one. Check out MC Escher's art. It's very neat. Here's a really great one. All right, so in terms of sequencing, I'm going to be riffing off of the PVRD method. I'll quickly express to you what that could sound like with, I don't know, I guess a little melody. Don't expect the greatest melody of all time here. I'm just going to use the repetition of shapes and the process of duplication and change. So I'm going to put a little something in here. There's some drums. I'm just going to mute this for now. right, so that could be like a little kind of a question. So then we're going to duplicate this and change it. Well, first of all, I might give this a little bit of space to breathe and put this pattern right here. And then I could put something different in between here. Maybe we go up even higher. And then, so it's P, which stands for present the motif. Then we're gonna vary the motif or create some variation. That's the V, PV, and then R is repeat the first phrase again. And then the D can stand for differentiate or destruct, or deviate or whatever, something like that. So here we can maybe do something else that's even more different. Jump around a little bit, maybe a couple little runs here. I don't know. I'm going to open up this EQ on this sound. All right, I don't know how I'm gonna fix this. Let me just loop this part, and I'll just try to dial this in to make it a little more musical. Uh-oh, what did I do? All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, I'm gonna hear what this sounds like with drums. All right, Alright, that rhythm might seem kind of off, so I'm just going to stabilize this with a hi-hat real quick. Alright, so let me talk a little bit more about this PVRD idea. So the basic idea is to create a little basic rhyme using that idea. Now, I like to have everything in groups so I can close everything up and it's just this little piece of groups. Now let's duplicate this. And this is where we start to get into the fractal aspect. Okay, so now we just have two versions of the same exact thing, which means nothing's changing. Let's get something to change. So remember, it's duplicate it and then change it. So what could we change about this? Let me listen. Well, we could maybe hit the fold button here and just invert some stuff. And then maybe pitch everything up an octave. So before we go much further, I think we should get some bass in here, because when you're duplicating, it's nice to be duplicating a lot of things. Okay, so now we have something here where we've got a bass and we've got a little chord progression and we have a rhyme scheme doing the PVRD and we've duplicated it out. So now we actually have a rhyme scheme built out of two rhyme schemes, but now we have to complete the rhyme scheme. So I'm going to duplicate this section and now we have a repetition. This is the same as this. And this is the same as this. I'm going to go into this bass patch and just take off some of that release. Right, so the rhyme scheme to be fully completed, we just have to change that last bit, right? Because we want this repetition here, and then we'll change this last bit. So let me listen through and see how we'll change this. Something when you have these random melodies, it can be good to do a beat repeat. I'm going to try a little technique here where you can put a gate and then sidechain it to the drum group. It can also be fun to tie it instead of the drums, tie it to like the bass line. So do bass 1 on that. See how it just glued that melodic layer right outside around that bass? Now this bass has this subtle movement and these little pauses that the chords are locked to that now with the just the side chaining the gate, getting the settings right. Okay, so now we have a whole pattern made up of little patterns, and it's the same concept. It's PVRD. Present the motif, vary the motif, repeat the motif, and differentiate the motif. Do something different. Turn around, change it. So the technique here is usually make a thingy, duplicate the thingy, and then change it, then duplicate both those thingies, and then change the last one. And if you can get good at that, you'll find that your rhymes are gonna start flowing. Because, okay, so where do I go next with this song? Well, I only have about 16 bars, so what if I just duplicate this again? And now I could change this whole section. We could do something else, right? I'm just gonna duplicate the bass and then change it. And this, to get around this because of the side chaining, we'll turn this off here, and then I'm gonna duplicate this and instead have this turn on right here, and this will be mapped to bass 2. Okay, so now we have a different bass. I'm gonna go in here and change this riff actually real quick. Alright, so I know I'm not talking a ton, but that kind of concludes the idea. So I'm going to record it now, because I always record my ideas. Interesting. It turned out very melodic, and I didn't really expect that. But, you know, melody, I think, helps to maybe explain this idea. So I guess that's why I started with melody. But it really applies to what I'm doing here with the kicks and the snares, kind of adding in some variation that's atypical to kind of balance out the more expected PVRD, so kind of randomly muting things like certain kicks and snares, and then in through here muting certain hats, getting a little bit more of a rolling changing pattern going in there, but still kind of keeping that PVRD just in the back of my mind. I'm not like consciously thinking about it, but you know, when it comes to expand the song, like right now we've got a drop already, so it's like a 32. So, you know, if you wanted to do a breakdown, I mean, a real quick and dirty breakdown is just this stuff, right? Alright, so now once you have a little intro, you can duplicate all that time and boom, you have drop 2 and your breakdown already in place. So then it's just a matter of taking this and see how we duplicated this intro, copy, boom, paste. So what do? We change it, right? So we change it. I don't know. Let's do a quick and easy change. Just pitch this up an octave. want this threshold to be not quite sure that's why isn't that working? It's something to do with that. So let's just delete this for now. I'm gonna freeze this. No, I'm not. Oops. All right, now I'm gonna paste this here, and now we can pitch this up an octave. And then right here also we could use a little bass. A little impact. And then maybe for the outro, we'll just do like the bass just keeps going. right? So then for the second drop, what we would do is, see how the drop kind of becomes a PVDR, where it's like the A section of the drop, the B section of the drop, breakdown. A section of the drop, B section of the drop, but it's C section and D section of the song, which would make it a pretty easy thing to just go in and change this last piece here so that it's present, vary, repeat, and then destroy. But it's all up to you to experiment. Maybe you want to throw a curveball in here, and then come back home. I've done that in tracks where you kind of switch the last two. These are just guidelines, no rules to rhyme scheme. It's only what you can think up. Why is that making that little... That's so funny. There's like a little artifact happening. What the hell? All right, let's record a little more of this now, and then I'm gonna call it quits.